Well, welcome to another episode of whatever it is
we're doing.
we do. Whatever it is we do, we are doing it.
Guess, I don't know.
Abraham, did you know that almost every single NEO GEO game ever created is currently available on the Nintendo Switch?
No, but now I know.
Yeah, it's true. So there's a company called Hamster Corporation in Japan. Hamster Corporation. And they that's the name. And they have decided to release, they have this thing called the Arcade Archives, and they put out something like, they have 108 NEO GEO games currently available on not just the Switch, but the PlayStation 4, the Xbox, and on the PC.
That's a
do you know how many NEO GEO games there are in existence?
How?
There's only about 150. Yeah,
wait,
148 I think.
Wait, then how is there like 180?
108 is less than 150.
Oh.
That's the reason why that's not a remarkable
I thought
figure.
it was 180.
No, 108. So they have 108 of the 150 or so NEO GEO games, depending on how you count, depending on what, if you're looking at the NEO GEO CD, if you're looking at the AES, the MVS, there's around 148 games for the NEO GEO. Certainly for the MVS. And one of the games that we want to talk about today is called Metal Slug X. Metal Slug X. Woo! We've played and beaten Metal Slug X a couple of times. Yes. We purchased it for your benefit, and we're here to discuss it. We're here to talk about what we think about the game.
Metal Slug X was released to the arcades for the NEO GEO MVS in 1999. At a time when the arcade boom, ushered in by the fighting game craze of the early 90s, was already dying out, giving way to a wave of next-gen home consoles that were just on the horizon. The Sega Dreamcast had already launched in Japan late in 1998, and it proved once and for all that not only could the next generation of home consoles keep up with the best games in the arcades, but that in many ways, it could exceed them. Advances to graphics were beginning to have a diminishing effect on the public, and with the looming launch of the PlayStation 2 in early 2000, the modern era of AAA console gaming was about to begin. Thus, Metal Slug X is a classic side-scrolling run-and-gun game born deep within the confines of a 3D revolution. But its incredibly detailed 2D sprites and animation were so beautiful that it still put many games of its generation to shame. In 1996, when the first Metal Slug game was released, the stunning graphics alone were sufficient to make many of us forget, for a moment, that 3D was the inevitable future. Metal Slug X was actually the third game in the series, and it's really not very different from the games that came before it. In fact, it's a remake of Metal Slug 2, which came out the year before. Metal Slug 2, however, was marred by extreme slowdown, and so in anticipation of more graphically demanding sequels, SNK developed a completely new game engine for the planned Metal Slug 3, and went back and fixed Metal Slug 2 along the way. We say that SNK developed the game, but it's worth pointing out that it was specifically developed by a team within SNK known as NASCA, which had actually been a unique and autonomous video game company from May of 1994 to the October of 1996, when they were officially acquired by SNK. NASCA is comprised of former IREM employees who wanted to continue to work together making games, even after IREM's arcade division went out of business in 1994. As an autonomous developer, NASCA only had 2 officially released games, both of which were exclusive to the NEO GEO. Neo Turf Masters, a much beloved golf sim, and the original Metal Slug. Metal Slug X credits 2 different planners under the pseudonyms of Miher and Akio, both of whom are founding members of NASCA. Miher is also credited for directing Metal Slug 2 and Metal Slug 3. Akio, on the other hand, was not only the original graphical designer for Metal Slug, but also R-Type, one of the most successful games of the 80s and probably IREM's most popular game ever. In order to differentiate itself, Metal Slug X added new enemies, altered the time of day for certain levels, increased the difficulty, added new weapons and power-ups, In addition, levels have been remixed in an attempt to make the game a unique play experience that justifies your time and money. Metal Slug X was well received by NEO GEO buffs at the time of its release, and is widely regarded as one of the best games in the Metal Slug series, and one of the best NEO GEO games in general. In 2001, the game was released on the original PlayStation, once again receiving favorable reviews from the gaming press. Since then, it has been released numerous times across many different platforms, and it is currently available on virtually every major video game console available.
So, what do you think about Metal Slug X, the history, Abe?
Well, there's one part of I like most of it, but there's one part of it I don't like.
About the game itself?
No, like about like the history.
Oh, okay.
So
Abe knows about the history.
Metal Slug 2 is like a full-fledged Metal Slug game. It's a new Metal Slug
right.
game. Right?
Metal Slug X is a remake. It's a remix.
It's just a remix. It sounds like a new game, but like it's not really. It's just basically just like better, more enemies, harder.
Yeah.
It's not really a new game. So yeah, I got that. That's the only problem I have. Other than that,
all right. Well, let's talk about the game itself then. So this game cost us $8 on the Nintendo eShop, which is a little bit stiff.
But every new game costs that.
Yeah, all of the Neo Geo games put out by Hamster cost $8. Now, if you were to buy this game new online, I think the Sony PlayStation version costs something like $50. And of course, the actual Neo Geo MVS cartridge is going to be like in excess of $100, which is actually for a Neo Geo game, that's actually pretty outstanding. So,
I thought it's really cool, like all the secrets and stuff, like the golden Metal Slug, and then like the big weapons that they don't even tell you about by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra weapons in this game as compared to the last game. So Metal Slug was pretty simple, pretty minimal.
There's a whole thing where like you got this weapon and like there's a bigger version where like the letter, the initial of it is bigger and like bouncy like this, and like it's just a better version of that weapon. I like that, and then the golden Metal Slug I'm missing 4.
The golden Metal Slug?
Yeah.
I don't even recall the golden Metal Slug.
Well, the golden Metal Slug, it actually looked like gold, but guess what? It's actually, I'm missing 4, there's a Metal Slug, and I got this one. It's actually, you can jump higher, shoot more powerful bullets, but it doesn't know. It looks like the same Metal Slug.
Metal Slug, if you haven't noticed by now, is a fairly standard 1980s, 1990s style run and gun game. I mean, if you played Contra, you basically get the gist of it. But for me, the single best part of the game is the Metal Slug. So that's the gimmick. So it's a run and gun up until the point you get into a vehicle. And then it's a run and gun, but with a tank.
And I think in Metal Slug X they added like the camel slug.
Yeah, you get a camel.
The camel.
You get all new stuff. You get a jet, and there was a point where Abraham jumped on top of the jet plane
on accident, and
we were both. So he was shooting while I was on the jet plane. That was an amazing moment. That was an amazing moment in an otherwise.
So Dad was he was in the jet plane, okay?
Yeah.
And he was but before he could fly, I jumped on it because I wanted to get it too.
We didn't know that was possible.
I was on it while he was flying it.
Yeah, that was the best moment in a game that was otherwise.
You could also do that with the tank and the camel too, I think. Yes.
That was the single best moment in a game that was otherwise, in my opinion, rather boring.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually fell asleep playing this game. That's a first for me.
The first time.
I've never fallen asleep playing a video game before, but it actually happened.
You had the loud roll. It's not your fault.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about Metal Slug and its gameplay mechanics. So, the obvious thing about Metal Slug, the thing that everybody notices, anyone who looks at it's going to notice, is the incredible
slow
2D sprite work. No, not the slow down. I mean, you see the graphics.
Yeah, people.
Everybody loves the graphics.
Everybody was like,
I mean, it looks like this is what I recall. 1996 at the roller rink when they got Metal Slug cabinet. Everyone was like, "It looks like you're playing a cartoon." It does. So, what did you think about the gameplay style? That it's a run and gun. Do you have any qualms with it being a run and gun, or the way they did it?
No, I mean, I would like it like anyway. A Metal Slug could have been like like one of those shooters where it's like you only see your hand, but like in a tank, like you just shoot bullets, like
right.
one of those things, like, and or it could have just been like a platformer.
Yeah.
And like I could still like a platformer that was occasionally you get like a Metal Slug that like boosts you like through the level. That would have been still pretty good. I don't care. It's called Metal Slug. I like it.
Cool. It's Metal Slug. He likes it. It's Metal Slug. I personally, I have no problem with the run and gun genre. It's one of my favorites. I love Contra. I love what's that game? Gunstar Heroes. You know what's weird about Metal Slug, in my opinion, is that it came out in 1996. In 1996, you got to keep in mind, at that point on the Super Nintendo, you had Contra 3. On the Sega Genesis, you had Contra Hardcore. You had Gunstar Heroes. There was already in the home market a wide variety of very successful run and gun games. And as beautiful as Metal Slug is, and as loud and exciting as it appears when it's out in the arcade, it really doesn't bring anything new to the table that isn't already done better by Contra Hardcore or Gunstar Heroes. And those games came out years before Metal Slug.
Yeah, does Contra have like vehicles? So I think it does.
Contra has some. Yeah, I think there's. I don't think Contra has vehicles. So yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, the vehicle. So the vehicle gimmick is basically what Metal Slug does have to offer, and I have to concede that the vehicle gimmick is fun. The only problem for me is that the rest of the game is really just not that fun to me. Like I find I'm just gonna go straight into it. Metal Slug for me was tedious. It's very repetitive, and every time you die, you lose all of your power-ups. So if you have
you get more bombs.
You get more bombs, and the bombs aren't particularly fun to use, to be honest.
I love them.
But you get whatever awesome. Say you had a rocket launcher, or you had a cool shotgun, or you had a laser gun. It's gone. So sometimes you get these awesome weapons, and then some thing kills you. That's one of my other problems. I struggle to follow like what's going on the screen because it's so cluttered. The animation, your character blends into the animation so frequently that it's really difficult to tell. Sometimes like it happens to me constantly.
It just happened to
me always
once.
lose track of where I'm standing.
Once.
So I've died, and sometimes I die and I don't even know why, or I actually didn't even realize I died. I'm like, oh, I'm dead. I should hit continue, if I want to continue this game. I have vivid memories of the original Metal Slug. Like the original Metal Slug came out in 1996, and it was really hard to escape. SNK, NEO GEO, they were really known for 2 games. I know now they're kind of known more for the Art of Fighting or the King of Fighters series. The King of Fighters series that never ends. But back in the day, the 2 games that really took off for them in the arcades were Samurai Showdown was mega huge. That game was every bit as popular as like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I mean, it was a big deal. But the second big deal was the original Metal Slug. I mean, it was everywhere. Metal Slug, it was everywhere in 1996. The original Metal Slug was everywhere in 1996, but I've never seen a single cabinet with Metal Slug 2, and I certainly have never seen a cabinet with Metal Slug X. Metal Slug X came out in 1999. I don't even know if I went to an arcade in 1999. And you know what? I think a lot of other people didn't too. Oh, wait. What did you think about level 2 or level 1 getting turned into a mummy every few seconds?
Mission 2.
Is it mission 2 with the pyramid?
Yeah, mission 2.
So mission 1's in the desert, awesome level, very good start to the game. Best song in the game. It's all.
Oh, but that's irritating.
I like it. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the mummies in level 2?
Mummies horrible. Okay, you get breathed on by a mummy.
So yeah, the mummies breathe on you.
And then guess what? You turn to a mummy. You jump really slow, but you can still
move
jump
really
at
slow.
time.
You jump really slow, and all you have
to
is.
throw a grenade. It delays so long. Like.
I found the mummies to be really frustrating. I think they slowed down the gameplay for a game that was supposedly fixed, and they had to go back to the drawing board and completely redo it because it was based on a game notorious for slowdown. You would think that they would reduce parts of the game where you get turned into stuff that ruins the gameplay. So you get in level 2, you get turned into a mummy, and you can barely move, you can barely jump. Do you lose your weapon?
Yeah, you can only shoot your pea shooter.
You only have your pea shooter, yeah. And then in level 4 and onward, you can turn into a fat guy.
That's good though.
By eating too much. It's not good.
No,
it sucks.
Okay, you're slower, but guess what? You're more powerful. Your bombs are more powerful. Your weapon is more powerful.
All I noticed is how horribly slow I moved. And it just felt like I was slugging
super
through
strong.
mud.
Like, if you're fat, you can defeat a boss like no problem. Like, really easy.
If you say so, I thought it was terrible. So you really liked it. So how would you rate this game? Would you recommend it?
I would give it a 4. I would recommend it for people who like running guns. Like, I think like 4 or 5 times is the max you can play it though. And then like you have to wait like 2 years and then you can play it another 4 or 5 times. But I don't know.
Cool.
What about you?
I don't think I ever want to play this game again. I thought it was tedious. I thought it was repetitive. I thought it moved really slow, and it doesn't really do anything for me that I haven't seen done better in other games that were like it. I'm not sure it's worth it at the $8 price tag that it costs on the eShop. I think if this game was $4 or $2, it would be perfect. I would feel like justified in playing it that one time just to see it. I mean, just to experience, Metal Slug X. So tell me, honestly, you really like Metal Slug?
Yes.
You're not a crazy person?
No.
Everyone I've ever met that's played Metal Slug loves it. So I'm definitely on the fringe here. It's like everybody who's ever played Street Fighter 2 seems to have loved it. I'm like this one guy. I've never met anyone else ever who doesn't like Metal Slug. And I look at Metal Slug and I see the graphics and I'm like, I should love this. This looks awesome. You're running, you're gunning, you're killing all those little soldiers, and they die in all these funny, horrific ways, and they're all burning. And they're all.
I have a question. I have one question. When you kill like the army men, or people, or like some like human, like white stuff comes out. What is that white stuff?
Oh, I think that's because we're playing the American version and think that's sweat. If you play the Japanese version, it's actually blood. They censored the blood in the US version, and they changed the blood color to be gray. It's sweat. So that is our sloppy but good intention overview of Metal Slug X for the Nintendo Switch. And for basically all consoles.
Wait.
Subscribe to us.
One more thing. This was a bad video. Goodbye.
Bye!